The man accused of killing a Wichita Falls toddler in 2018 has been found guilty by a Fort Worth jury. Tonight, Alyssa Osterdock gives us a full breakdown of closing arguments and jury deliberations that took place before the verdict was announced.
Emotions were high throughout the courtroom as Judge Everett Young sentenced James Staley to life in prison without parole. James Staley's final words as he was being handcuffed in the courtroom today, quote, "I did not kill Wilder McDaniel." Here's a look at how the day went prior to that guilty verdict and family reaction after it was read.
Long time coming, 4.5 years. Finally got some justice for Wilder. The justice for Wilder, the meaning of that is a life sentence without parole.
That is what Wilder's grandfather, David Taylor, had to say after the guilty verdict was read by the jury, 4 hours after closing arguments concluded. The courtroom was full just after 9 a.m. as both the state and defense were allowed 90 minutes to give their closing arguments. Wichita County District Attorney John Gillespie started. His focus to the jury was on the facts in this case. Gillespie also highlighted testimony from a blood-stain pattern expert, Tom Bevel, who said he believes that Wilder was murdered, along with child abuse pediatrician Dr. Suzanne Dakel, who said her medical opinion was that Wilder died of suffocation. Gillespie revisited the messages Staley sent to Amber McDaniel, calling them murderous intent, and even referencing a book where at the end the killer says, quote, "If you speak the truth in a silly way, nobody believes you." Gillespie then ended his closing arguments with a powerful sentence.
It was so important to me to say, by your verdict, you can say, no James, no James. And that's what the jury said loud and clear in this case. They said, no James, no James, no James.
Gillespie highlighted that it was a team effort to get this done.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes in a case like this that we can't talk about. Lisa Tanner, the special prosecutor that I brought in, who's an expert with forensics, who I think y'all saw how terrific she was, but it was a team effort, and we got him, and he will never harm another child, and he's getting what he deserves in prison for the rest of his natural life.
When Mark Daniel began the defense's closing statement, his first topic was the possible transfer of DNA between items that were packaged in the same evidence bag. Then getting to the topic of petechiae, saying the presence of it does not prove that it was from suffocation and that it can be the result of several things like CPR or decomposition. Daniel then talked about the autopsy findings coming back as undetermined, even reading the definition of the undetermined ruling to the jury. He then touched on Tom Bevel's testimony, saying his work is, quote, sloppy and reckless. After the verdict was read, the courtroom heard statements from Wilder's mom and dad. Bubba McDaniel was not allowed to attend the trial, so his statement was read by a family member. But Amber addressed Staley in the courtroom, saying, "I have waited 4.5 years to look you in your eyes and tell you that my 2.5-year-old son is more of a man than you will ever be. You never deserved Wilder in your life. You have destroyed everything." Some words from Bubba: "I have so many thoughts in my head. The first one I can think of is that I lost a 2-year-old. You coward. Coward who thought my son was to be a part of your vicious cycle. The hardest thing I ever did in my life was not hurt you. You will always be a villain." Two of Wilder's aunts spoke through tears outside the courthouse of what they would tell Wilder today.
I mean, I would just have to tell him I love you all, but we miss him every day. But we know he's in heaven. That's where he needs to be. He's happy, and he doesn't have to be in this cruel world.
Moving forward, Wilder McDaniel's family says that they will continue to keep his legacy alive in their everyday lives. In Fort Worth, Alyssa Osterdock, News Channel 6.